Good morning, dolls, and welcome to Little Gretchen's workshop. So today I'm going to show you what I did to add a little depth to the brick portion of my fireplace. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video, I was just not comfortable with it. It just looked too flat. It looked too one-dimensional. I wanted it to look more 3D. So dolls, if you're ever working on a project and you're not happy with it, you're not satisfied with it, keep working with it until you are. Don't just settle. Daddy used to tell me that if it's not right, you have to fix it. You can't just leave it that way. Always be really careful when you're using your craft knife, especially this type that I have. It's a Swan Morton and it's extremely sharp. I mean, unforgivingly sharp. So always be conscious of your hands and hold whatever you're cutting really firmly so that your hand doesn't slip. So dolls, here I show you where I actually had gotten the 3 sides cut out, but here I left it to show you that I did have a struggle. So I just wanted to leave this here to let you know that all artists struggle. Your struggle is a part of your journey. Now here I just want to show you how I extended the cork portion into the inside of the opening, which is how I'm going to create depth for my fireplace. Now here I'm just making sure the template for the cork fits neatly before I add glue to secure it so that both of the pieces bond together as one unit. And I'm really glad I decided to do the second layer of cork because it makes the structure more sturdy and actually gives it a little bit more weight. Now I did put a generous layer of the Gorilla Wood glue under the second piece of cork, and like I said, it made it really sturdy and really firm. It really adds a nice bit of body and weight to my structure. So I'm going to go ahead and allow that to dry. I'm going to weight it down so it'll dry nice and flat and neat and go on to create the box structure around the bricks. Now, I do apologize, dolls. I thought that I had filmed the footage for creating the box around the brick, but I realized my camera wasn't on. But I just used a couple planks of wood and stacked them together. And then after stacking them together, I glued them to the back of the opening. So dolls, it was very simple, nothing fantastic. I just built a little box around the bricks. And after I stacked together and glued them, I glued them to the back of the chimney breast. I'm really glad I took the time to figure out what I didn't like about the chimney breast. And sitting the brick part back a little bit further inside makes it look a lot more realistic. It gives it much more depth and dimension. And I'm satisfied with it now. That looks really good and the surround looks great. So now I can continue on with the decorating of the actual surround. Now after I did the last video, I realized a lot of that yellow was still showing, so I actually needed to do a second coat of my linen colored Folkart acrylic paint. And so I'm just filling in and going over those parts where the yellow is showing through, getting into all those little details, nooks and crannies. And you have to take your time with this, dolls. Now this video is sped up a little bit in some parts just for the sake of time, but you really have to take the time, allow it to dry, stand back, look at it, hold the light on it, because some of those spaces that I missed, I didn't notice it until my video. So always take the time to sit back and look at your project to make sure you haven't missed anything and that you're satisfied with the completed look. Now that I've resolved my concern about the depth inside the body of the fireplace, now I want to work on the trim. I really wasn't satisfied with how things looked along the edge where the wallpaper and the fireplace brick meet. I felt like there needed to be something to create a transition and to unify the look of the actual fireplace surround and the chimney breast. So I had a few bamboo skewers and I decided to paint them with that same linen colored Folkart acrylic paint. And I decided to cluster 3 at a time together right on the corner of the chimney breast where the wallpaper and the brick meet. I thought it would make a nice like decorative element. I wanted it to look architectural, like it was a part of the building design. And I did try several other moldings, but I thought the skewers worked the best. So I went ahead and used my beacon adhesive because it catches really quick and holds really fast. I wouldn't have to hold it a long time like I would with some of the other glues. And I pressed them to the corner really, really tight. And then I did actually add a little bit of blue painter's tape, being careful not to actually get it on my wallpaper or the brick because again, they are paper. I really like the way this turned out. That looks so much better with the added depth to the inside of the fireplace. So now let's turn our attention to the actual fireplace surround. Now it's painted, it's dry, and so now it's time for me to add some time to it. So I'm using my same acrylic paint, the Folkart, but I'm using the black with a really fine brush. I'm actually dry brushing it. I did dip it into the paint, but I wiped the majority of it off where it's just a little bit on the tips. And I'm just running across the high points of the fireplace surround so I can get all the details, all those carvings and little nooks and crannies on the design so they'll stand out. Because, dolls, to me, the fireplace is the centerpiece of the parlor, so it needs to be really special. Now take your time with this process. This is edited video. I did speed it up quite a bit. Now after using the black and getting as much of that on it as I wanted, I took a little dab of my rubbing buff in the antique gold and again only hit the high points. And I thought this really, really brought it to life. The black antiqued it, and I think this gold gives it a really, really regal look. It looks like it belonged in a big old mansion, and I really, really like the way it turned out. So let's go in and check on those trim pieces and see if they're dry. And they were. And I went ahead and did the same thing to them that I did to the chimney surround. I added the black and then I went over it with a little bit of the gold. And I think that came together really nicely. So let's look at it inside the house. And here we are in the parlor. I think that really looks great. I'm definitely going to have to do something about that arched doorway. I need to get a curtain up really quick because it's breaking my illusion. So if you dolls enjoyed this video today, definitely let me know in the comments. Also like, share, and subscribe. And I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next episode of Little Gretchen's Workshop. Bye-bye now, dolls.